So we're here with Nate Westheimer. The law title is co-founder of AnyClip, organizer of the New York Tech Meetups, and the newly appointed advisor to Flybridge Capital.
Yep.
You're a busy guy, so thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure, yeah.
So I want to talk about the New York Tech community in general, but as probably a good specific example, maybe you could tell us a little bit about AnyClip, maybe just like the elevator pitch. And
yeah, so the elevator pitch for AnyClip is the only one that I've ever given that gets a round of applause, but it's the index of the world's films, so people can search for and find any moment from any film ever made instantly.
So that favorite food fight in Animal House?
Food fight, Animal House, bam. Gas station scene, Zoolander.
Yeah.
Roll on Shabbos. Make him an offer he can't refuse.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the movies as a medium are just an incredible force. I mean, it is the most. It's almost the most democratic form of culture and of art, and so working with film is just a delight.
So you have an office in New York.
Yep.
And Jerusalem.
Yep.
And we were talking a little bit about the story behind how that came to be, and I think it's a really good, interesting story, and
sure.
One that I think entrepreneurs would enjoy. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the background.
I think what entrepreneurs can take away from the AnyClip story is that it's not the traditional two guys and a bowl of ramen in a garage story that I think has been sort of canonized as sort of it is the Google story, and it's down to the Foursquare story, and it's the Tumblr story, and that's amazing for a number of reasons. Those types of stories, that's capital efficiency, sort of having all the skills in house, sort of all these things that help small ideas or big ideas start small and then work their way to be big. But AnyClip is a different story in that it was an existing company that had tried something in the movie space and knew wasn't working with their current idea, with their current management, but they had assembled a great team, and the investors wanted to keep going. The investors themselves were very passionate about the space for a number of reasons, and so they were actively recruiting new management, and they got turned on to my friend and co-founder Aaron Cohen, who he and I sort of talked about that opportunity. We were sharing different opportunities. I was on my way out of Rose Tech Ventures. My term as EIR was coming to a close. He had been out of Menu Pages. He was the CEO of Menu Pages, sold it to New York Magazine. He'd been out of that for about 6 months, sort of thinking about his next thing. And we started talking about ideas. We took a look at this company together and decided that we had an idea, the idea of AnyClip, that would be really compelling, that we would enjoy working on. And so we took that back to the investors, and they decided to hire Aaron and including myself to come in and turn it around, and that was almost a year ago in a couple of weeks.
And what happens in New York, and what happens in Jerusalem?
In Jerusalem, the two main functions of everybody in Jerusalem is engineering and data engineering, so software engineering and data engineering. When we say indexing the films, there are some things that we do algorithmically, but there's actually a huge manual component to that. And then from an engineering perspective, we have sort of 3 teams, people on the more core data, API, and search teams, and then people more on the web and product teams, and then some on the Flash and development, which happens in both camps. In the States, it's more on the product side, so I run product and technology for the company as a whole, and Gabby Moore, our lead designer, sits next to me in New York, so she is the main interface between sort of product and code, because she's a developer, a front-end developer. Then in terms of business functions, Aaron, our CEO, our head of licensing is in New York, and actually our head of business development is in LA, so we have kind of an office in LA, and then we have a number of support staff here in New York as well. So we're about 20 people, about half New York, Jerusalem.
Yeah. What do you think about building an engineering team here in New York? What's kind of the pros and cons?
Well, the pros are, listen, I adore my team in Israel, and I couldn't see doing this project without them. Of course, it has its difficulties to be so far away, and so I think that most people should and would be wise to look for building their team locally, and I think that in terms of not in all cases, but in I think a lot of cases, lean startups can really. It might be cheaper in other places. Certainly not cheaper. That's not a reason to be in Israel, but in other places in the world. But it's cheaper than New York. But you lose a lot in just the sort of having zero latency in getting feedback and brainstorming and all of that. So New York is the place where I think you want to be building your engineering team. And the question is, can you? And I think absolutely. It's not that there is no reservoir of engineers, nor should there be, right? Engineers are highly skilled individuals, and so it's going to be tough no matter where you are to find the right set of skills for your startup. I don't think anywhere else in the world there is this reservoir that you can just dip into. And so what you have to do is, like any other place, you have to convince people to work for your company where you are. Well, I can't speak for your company, but in terms of New York, it's been increasingly easy to convince people that New York is a pretty awesome place to do work. And the quality of life here, as I put it in a recent blog post, I sort of made myself chuckle, was, where else can you live a life of such luxury and have a smaller carbon footprint than anyone else in the country?
Yeah, you live in a box and have the best life ever.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's one of the appeals, I think, of New York. You both can, you take public transportation everywhere, and you're actually living well and living and doing good at the same time. And it's just the lifestyle is hard to beat. I think, outside of just business, right? The MoMA, just like the entire city. So it's easy to recruit people to come here, and then a lot of those people are here anyway. I mean, I don't think you generally have to hire somebody, convince somebody to come in from Chicago or Atlanta or San Francisco to move here. A lot of those people have decided that New York is going to be their home anyway, and so New York is a great feeder itself for talent.
So what do you think about what's happening with the New York sort of tech scene in general? We were just talking about how in 2006 we would go to these meetups, the New York Tech meetups, and they'd be like 100 people, give or take. Now they're 800 people. You're organizing them. What do you think's going on?
I think the number of factors. I think that even in that 3-year period of time, or 3.5-year period of time that I've been involved. The things that I've seen happen are, we had a sort of a bubble, we had a fever pitch, I think, like a year ago, where I'm always sensitive to the amount of publicity and attention given versus how much it's deserved. And I think it's okay to sort of have the former lead the latter, right? It's okay to have a little bit more attention, but not too much. And I feel like we were, maybe 2007, things were getting a little out of control as Tumblr and OMG Pop and started. I think they were the main, two of the sort of main brands that people were recognizing were coming up in the consumer internet. And the consumer internet, let's be honest, really drives a lot of the perceived hype and awareness of the industry. I think what's changed between 06 and then 07 and sort of now is that everyone sort of is reinvested their the attention that they got, reinvested in really creating value. People, I think, go to less parties because they're working harder, and that's really healthy.